What's
What's
up,
up,
CHSD?
CHSD? Welcome back to our second episode of the official Golden Progressive podcast. Woo! Yay! Are
Woo!
we excited?
Oh, I'm so excited. Dude,
Oh,
I'm
me
actually
too.
so happy that we're continuing the series.
No, me too. I'm having such a great time.
For sure. So, Irene, why don't we introduce ourselves again for the new people listening to the pod?
Of course. Hi, guys. If you haven't caught me in the last episode, I'm Irene. I'm your co communications director for this year.
And my name's Emily. I'm also your co-communications director for this year.
Yay!
So, Irene,
Yes, Emily.
I heard that we have a little special guest joining us today.
I heard that too. I heard something about it being the Jeremy Choi Kallen.
Oh!
I'm starstruck, aren't you?
Wait, stop. That's literally like my dream celebrity to me. I'm shaking.
No,
I
me
can see
too.
that
Shaking
shaking.
in my seat.
Oh my gosh. Well, why don't we bring Jeremy out to introduce himself?
Woo!
Well, thank you for having me here.
We're
Uh,
so glad to have you here.
my name is Jeremy. I'm one of political directors here at CHSD, which I'm honored to be one. And here at political department, we coordinate campaigning with our endorsed candidates, handle endorsements. Before we do that, I work closely with our campaign teams and working with our financial director to help fundraising for candidates. And we do our all the advocacy stuff with policy directors. So it's pretty cool job.
You have such a cool job, Jeremy. Do you think you could like walk us through what your day-to-day life is like as our CHSD political director?
Yeah, well, we just went through a very competitive June primary. It was not only competitive for statewide races like gubernatorial races, and but also local races, which I was also been proud to be a part of as our regional director, which I'm going to talk about later on. But we are right now focusing on November election. Luckily, California is a blue state. Uh, we have many Democrats advance it to the general election, and right now we are just working hard to reach out all those candidates to figure out who need our help of our high school students. Also after the election to figure out the ways we can work together. Uh, you know, and that's really the goal of our organization.
Yeah, 100%. Emily, do you have any questions for our special guest?
Yeah, honestly, first of all, I just wanted to thank Jeremy for finding the time to join us today. I know political is a very busy job, so I'm glad that you're representing both you and Annika's efforts in our e-board. It's very much appreciated. I wanted to go ahead and ask you, how did you get involved with CHSD in the first place? So, what inspired you to join the organization, and what role did you start off in?
So I'm a Democrat, and there's a thing called high school organization. So I first applied to HSDA. You can literally go to a website right now and you can start applying if you're a high schooler from anywhere in any state. And I got an email from CHSD, and that's how I got involved in our statewide organization. In terms of how I first got involved in politics, I believe it was fifth grade summer when I lost my class presidential election by one vote. And I came home, feeling so disappointed. And I was scrolling through YouTube and I watched Hillary Clinton's presidential concession speech that she gave after she was defeated by Donald Trump in 2016. And from that point on, I really was um, Paul, surprised by our American democracy, peaceful transfer of power, diversity that we cherish in our country. And that was my stepping stone or starting point for me to get into politics. So that's kind of always That's my story. Yeah.
Wow, that's really inspiring and honestly very unique. I don't think I've heard of anyone else so young being so tapped into what was going on in the country. So I just commend you for always keeping it real and being motivated by the change makers in our country. I think it just goes to show how dedicated you are to change. Irene, any thoughts on this before we move on to the formal interview?
I would say the exact same thing, Jeremy. I think it's incredible that you actually started getting interested in politics at such an early age. And it's such a fun and interesting story as well. And I thank you for all the work that you do at our organization and, yeah, and all the campaigns and initiatives that you do. Um, what would you say is like a unique perspective that you bring to CHSD or what unique experiences that you have?
One perspective per se, or one experience that I can bring to our CHSD. I just want to say, before just we got started, we applied and we had our first executive board meeting, I believe, in early July. And before then, I've worked so hard for uh, local elections in Glendale, where I'm living in, right? Glendale has a deep history. We were sundown town in the 20th century. Black people could not go outside after 6 p.m. Um, and we do have this deep, dark racial discriminatory history rooted in our story, and that serves as a reminder that we should never forget the important piece of our history. And starting in 2023, we started this movement outside of the school district office. Some people coming in and talk about LGBTQIA plus or education not being inappropriate, and we went into this kind of cultural world in all of a sudden, and I've been one of those people who've been on the front line to witness all those vitriolic, violent rhetoric, both in and outside of the school district office. And, I- we just went through racism, and now we have this new thing called attacks on our LGBTQIA plus community. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, I've only watched that on YouTube before I came here. I moved down here in 2021. Before I lived in Korea and Boston. But this was something that really shows how our country will be divided, and that's like the main issue that we need to fight on for the next at least decade, in my opinion. You know, that's something experience I had, and that's what I'm bringing to CHSD to make sure how we can, you know, really figure out as our young people. It's about my future, it's about your future, it's about our future. Um, to Those are just challenges I think we need to tackle, because those are attacks on basic human rights that we fought for ever since the Civil War.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Jeremy. I actually feel the same way because I lived my life in between two different countries as well. So I lived between California and then Korea. So when I first came here too, it was kind of a culture shock in the way, like, basic human rights were taxed, like as you mentioned, and I find that quite appalling. So, Emily, do you have any thoughts or remarks that you would like to say?
Yeah, I was just wanting to share that honestly, I commend both of you for being so open about how that culture shock has changed the way that you view this country, but also the drive that you have to really disrupt the status quo and make sure that we're advancing for change. I also wanted to mention that so many people disregard local races when they are the ones that you see the most impact of in your daily life. So, for example, Jeremy, I know that you were working very closely with Dr. Dinkjian on her campaign. Did I pronounce her name correctly?
Yeah, Ding Xiang, yes.
Yes, and I have met her before, obviously through canvassing for her and at other events, and she is genuinely one of the sweetest electeds that I have ever met. She is a very genuine person who you know cares about youth. She was running for school board, and she is exactly the type of person that we need advocating for the kids in our school board, especially in those polarized areas like you were mentioning. And now I'm proud to say that a few days ago, she was sworn in as the first ever Filipino on the GUSD board, right?
Yes.
Just wanted to say, how do you think that working with those candidates who you genuinely believe in make your experience in politics better? And what would you say was the greatest thing you took away from working with her?
Well, I just want to step on. Like, I want to explain. I want to introduce actually, our president, Emertia. I think that's the right, Emerita, Emertia. I think that's the right way to say it. Ingrid Ganell. I managed her campaign mainly for our June primary, and I did also help as our CHSD regional director and the local chapter president for her campaign. And I really love those people. One of the beauty about our local elections, or when we look, how to elect, we're literally neighbors who lives next to you, to be on and to be in public office, is that that. We spend a lot of time talking about, oh, governor, who are you voting for governor, and who are you supporting for governor, like insurance commissioner, like state superintendent, congressman. And all of that is fine because those are the people who will, from the front line, looking out for us at the federal level or at a broader state level. But what's really important is, I think, is local offices. One of the things I'm really passionate about our school board system in America is, I don't know if anyone who's not from, or who lived in a different country, it is not a thing in another country. It is not a thing where you elect your community members to serve your schools, make a decision about your education. So, one of the things I'm very passionate about, I hope to expand on as our CHSD, is to make sure we look out for our local school board races. I think that's we are a high school organization. I think that's what's really important for all of us, and for, if you care about the state of the world, public education is obviously the place to start with. Um, and it was I should say it was a very challenging races. We did have we were worried about some vote splitting, because we had, quote unquote, Democrat, a person who registered Democrat just a month before the election. We're not getting into that. Uh, Ran against Dr. Ding Xian, and for the GUSD then board president Ingrid Ganell. Well, we had our 21-year former Republican school board member running against us. He left their job for higher political gain. He ran for city clerk in Glendale 4 years ago, and he lost. And he decided to return after a 4-year break. Um, and it was really just, local school board race is not supposed to be partisan. You should not tell if they're like Democrat versus Republican. But the saddest part of our local politics, it is partisan, inevitably. And what I've noticed throughout this local politics is how much local Democratic parties, local partisan organizations, how much are involved in electing our local elected officials. Um, it's really gave me a perspective that once again, I'm a Democrat because I believe Democratic Party is, not about you know, saying, "Oh, us versus them," or who is what. And you're not friends. You're not my friends. You're my enemy, or something like that. But we're the party that advocates for everyone, especially right now these days. And I think that's what's important when we look at our local, quote unquote, local Democratic candidates running for office. I was proud to endorse Dr. Eileen Dinchan, who spent her entire life working working to um, inform our students in our classrooms about public health. She's a public health educator. She has a doctorate in education. She must be superintendent, in my opinion. But I was really proud to endorse her, and um, I love those elected officials because you can tell how much they care about um, our youth, just like you said, Emily. I love them so much. And fortunately, we did elected Dr. Eileen Dingshamp by a larger margin than I thought. And uh, unfortunately, the campaign I poured my heart for, Miss Ingrid Grinnell, she's not a board president anymore because election happened and swearing happened. It was really contentious race when we had a 21-year former school board member who left the school board attacking teachers' hard work during our COVID, quote unquote. He says our teachers need to work double because students are not looking at contractual hours and they don't care about the unions. And now he went after students, our local Crescenta Valley High School Democrats working for candidates in our election, and we lost by 17 votes. And what maybe we can move on to that next. But one thing there's a perspective I've learned throughout this campaign that I also want to implement or work with our elected officials as our political direct as a political director this term. But I go on first so ever. I don't know how you're gonna edit this, but I'm just gonna go at it because I'm not bad at finishing, and I'm gonna toss it to Emily.
Wow, thank you so much, though. I genuinely hear you and understand what you mean by these local races are way more important than people think. It crushes me that they just don't give a second thought to these races, oftentimes voters, but really these are the races that are going to determine if the school environments that our younger siblings go to elementary school with are welcoming to them. If their curriculums are going to ban books on people that look like them. If your mom and your dad are encountering, like, let's say we're talking about a city council race, encountering more potholes when they're driving around. These are everyday issues that affect everybody. So it's so important to do that research and to back someone who you genuinely believe in for those types of races. So shout out to Dr. Dink Jan. You're amazing. We all love you here at CHSD. Speaking of races, we're going to move into our formal interview portion now. My first question for you, Jeremy, is what race are you most excited to see play out in the November election? And a little bonus question, what makes that race most important for high school students like ourselves to pay attention to?
Sure. One of the elections, well, I'm mostly interested in, there are contentious race in our state legislature, or one thing people don't know about are judicial races. Something I will get into it later, but one thing I would say is our state superintendent races. Uh, or so we elect our state superintendent. Again, if you can take a look at it, and some other states, even within our United States, we can look at some other states. There are not many states that elect our state superintendent. Mostly we have state board of education, and they elect a superintendent, just like how a local school board um, nominates or appoint a superintendent. Is we have Sonia Shaw. from Chino Valley Unified School District, who been really advocating for, I think that's the word I'm going to put it, for banning books, all the things that Emily just laid out before us. And we have this wonderful candidate who's endorsed by our teachers, California Teachers Association. Um, I am very excited about it. Richard Barrera. Um, he is from San Diego Unified School District. Right now, he is a board president, I believe, and those are election I'm very excited about. California has a lot of um, we have a lot of work to do moving forward. We have a lot of immigrant community coming into our state for education, for public education. And, I think that is one of many reasons for, why the United States America can strive and thrive, or thrive, I should say. Uh, and, and I think those races, I need to say I was personally shocked to see Sonia Shaw get into the first place. I know she will be defeated with all my hope. Uh, Terribly in November. I'm very excited to work for to elect San Diego Unified School District Board of Education President Richard Barrera. Um, and this is a race I'm most interested in. I believe I forgot your second part of the question, if you could remind me.
Yeah, the second part was what makes that race especially important for high school students to pay attention to.
Yeah, like I just said, we need to care about our education system. Um, there's a lot of work to do. We have um, something called local, well, I guess, hold on, let me not talk about that. I'll go on forever. Basically, state superintendent will determine our policies, state curriculum, and all of those things. We need to make our curriculum more inclusive, uh, or something like curriculum LGBTQIA plus, and all of sex education. Those are mandatory state mandated curriculum that every child needs to go through. Although some parents can um, opt out opt out their children out of those curriculum, but we need to really make sure that we understand our history. One thing I'm also excited working with our policy director would be um, including our California history mandatory in our curriculum to learn about all the racism, sexism, and all those discrimination that has been rooted in our history. I think it is really important for all of our students to learn as we um, moving into the future to remind us that those are things that have happened, and we should make sure that should not happen anymore. Um, and it's a really cool job, but it's also an important job that I think high school students, they care about their schools, because I go to a school every day. Needs to care about because top down, whatever decides at the state level, whether it be textbooks approved, those are come from the State Board of Education with our state superintendent, and the local school district gets to decide which textbooks that we can look at. And just like that, and it also comes from school funding, we need to pay more teachers, more of our teachers who are working so hard and every day in our classrooms. And those are something I think all of our students should care about. I recommend you to go right down to search state superintendent races. And yeah, that's something that's the race I'm most excited about in a statewide.
You
Right.
crushed that question. What do you think, Irene?
I definitely agree with every single thing you said in your response, Jeremy. I definitely agree. I think it's so important that we actually reflect on our history and kind of root that in our curriculum to serve as a reminder of how we should approach things moving forward as well, because we always learn from our history, and if we don't, then we'll repeat it, and we do not want that happening. So, kind of moving forward with our interview, our next question for you is, what is one thing that any high schooler in California can do today to get involved with their democracy? And what do you think is the biggest thing that usually stops students from actually taking the initiative or getting involved? And how do you recommend they overcome it? That's a
Well,
really big question.
first, you can go to chsdems.org and apply to become one of our members, right? I think right now, and again, I say the same thing over and over again. In the state of the world, I think it's really important for youth to stand up, whether it be, I, well, there's a lot of work to do. If you have something in your schools that you want to see change, go ahead and contact your school board member. If you see one of your roads that are just broken and stay for there forever, and you want to see more green space in your in your town or in your city, go ahead and contact your city council member. If there is anything you want to see in our statewide, local, go ahead and contact your elected officials. That's the beauty of our democracy, and that's something we should never forget, that we hold our elected officials accountable. We should keep contacting them. We can reach out to them. Um, and they don't, if they don't respond, guess what? High schools are coming to take you down in the next election. I think that's one of the important thing that we need to remind ourselves. We elect candidates. Candidates don't elect themselves. Um, and all of our resources we have here at CHSD, we are working very hard to reach out to the candidates, how the youth can help. We have a lot of phone banking coming up. We have a lot of canvassing. Canvassing is really important. That's why Dr. Eileen Dingshan won by a huge margin. Uh, we need to really put ourselves together. And one of the things I really encourage you to do, if you I mean if you're not if you're rooting for different causes, then go ahead and join California Republican High School Democrat. I don't know, just get yourself out there and make yourself heard, and join one of those organizations. There's a lot of organizations out there where you can advocate for yourself. And what one of the things I really appreciate um, being at CHSD was to hear from other people, right? You have all those feelings, you have all those ideas, and all of it, or whatever you're thinking or whatever you're envisioning for your future. You can communicate with our like-minded peers, and that's something I think is really also important. Especially if you want to maybe run for public office in one day. I can already imagine Emily and Irene running for public office at some point in the future. I hope you guys run for whatever. And all those experience we earn here will be what motivates us to fight for in the future. So that is something um, I think what any high schooler can do right now, who are listening right now, just go to chsdems.org/apply. I'm not sure if that's the right thing, right website. Maybe Emily and Irene can help me. And I believe I forgot the second part of the question. We can rep there, but I don't know. That's my response.
Thank you. You pretty much covered all aspects of the question. I mean, you guys heard it from Jeremy himself. Go join CHSD today. I genuinely have to say, from my personal experience as well, it's so refreshing to be amidst really like-minded individuals who long for change and are actually actively taking action towards it. And we would love to welcome you guys into our community as well. So make sure to join.
Miss Popular over here.
Sorry, I don't know if that went in there, but Emily, do you want to ask Jeremy our very next question?
Yes, I would like to ask him our next question. Okay, wait, sorry, my dad's in the background. Let me start over. Okay. Yes, I would like to ask Jeremy our next question. Thank you for passing it over. I would like to ask, what are some exciting partnerships that you want to bring to the table with CHSD? And how do you hope these partnerships will change the experiences of our general CHSD members? This will be your last question before we launch into announcements. So really take your time with thinking of a great response.
Yeah, one thing I know we've been trying to do, but we've not really done it for the past years, would be I really want to look at the ways. First of all, I want a partnership. I want partnership with our candidates. Uh, Again, I'm telling you, if your candidates are listening to right now, you can email me, Emily, Irene, great Madam Chair, Delilah Yan, or Mr. Vice Chair, Ethan Tai. You can reach out to any of us with the ways we can be a helpful resource for you. And second of all, I want to pull out the ways if we can figure out the work with our labor unions and our advocacy organizations, Planned Parenthood. Those are not partisan organization, and I understand that, but I think it's also important that we as high school students to mobilize and support causes because that's what really what the Democratic Party that's what's really about. We support people who don't have the power to lift up, whose voices are knocked down and refuse to knock out. We want to help lift up those people. Um, and something when it becomes our labor issues, we have a lot of problems in our Chino Valley school district. In not only Chino Valley School District, there's multiple school districts across California where teacher salaries are saying, for example, my Glendale Unified School District, we ranked 43rd in teacher salary annual increase over the past decade in the entire LA County. I think that's not just outrageous. And what I'm really hoping UTLA announced a strike just about a few months ago. They've been on a strike for a week at least, I believe. I'm not sure if my number was correct. And there's a lot of work to do. Working with those organizations, I think would be really helpful for our high school students, uh, so that our elected official will hear us. They cannot, ignore when students and parents and teachers and adults work together. Um, and that's one of the things I'm really excited to expand our partnership on. We will figure out if there's any logistics. I hope we have a lawyer. We all always have this wonderful ideas, and I want to make sure I do not bypass all the or whether it be education code or state laws. But um, those are ideas I initially have for a partnership we have. And yeah, and that's my answer for that question.
Well, if you need a lawyer in-house, you got me. Basically, I'm a lawyer now because I interned at a law firm. I'm kidding. Do not contact me for legal advice. But thank you so much for sharing all of your insight. That was so great, and I'm feeling very motivated to make some change out there. How are you feeling, Irene?
I feel it's the same way as you, Emily. Thank you, Jeremy, for coming in today. I just got a huge burst of inspiration just from everything you said, and now I'm definitely going to be looking into the superintendent race.
Yes. And then just a little quick bonus question for Jeremy. In one sentence, if there was a message that you would want the listener to remember from this episode, what would it be? In one sentence.
Vote and volunteer. Volunteer, 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 volunteer. Canvas, phone bank for candidates you want to see be in public office because that's the only way you're going to see them elected. And just volunteer and vote. That's my word.
For sure, 100%. I agree. We need as many volunteers and people to canvass as we can get, as especially November approaches. There are so many local elections that you guys could sign up to volunteer for, or canvass, or even phone bank for. So make sure to keep an eye out for your local races around you. Emily?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I also think it's a great season to do some voter registration. And
Woo!
just as a little sneak peek, I know last year CAHSD actually had a huge partnership where we helped chapter leaders run their own registration drives. I was one of the people who did it. So, I think I've heard talks about bringing that back. So I'm hearing y'all gotta follow in our Instagram, CAHS Dems, and stay up to date on when we release those, training guides.
Yeah, and we have so many more fun and interesting opportunities coming up, and I'm sure we'll have some more volunteer and phone banking events coming up soon. So you can find everything that we have to offer on our CHS Dems Instagram account.
Yes, such a great point. Also, if you really loved all of the wisdom that Jeremy was dropping today, and maybe you want to hop on the pod and have a convo with him, or, have a convo with one of us, then you should definitely fill out our podcast form on our Instagram. Fill out the form today. It's very short, very accessible. If you are a student activist looking to make change, if you're a California High School Dems chapter leader, if you simply just want to talk about the political and economic state of the world, hop on. We would
Raise your
love to
hand,
have
us.
you.
Yes, 100%. We're here for all topics of conversation, and we would love to have everyone up on our podcast. So make sure to fill out the form today. And also, another interactive event we have is we have something called a member mailbag. So if you guys have any questions or concerns or topics that you guys are interested in or would like us to cover on our podcast episodes, make sure to leave a comment on our YouTube video, or we will be having a little Q&A, or we'll have a little form that you guys can fill out on our Instagram story that we will be able to cover and answer in our next episode.
Yes, such a good point. Just as a quick reminder, make sure to follow our Instagram if you didn't already hear us say that 50 million times. Follow the Instagram, CAHS Dems, and open a CAHSD chapter in your own school or city. We will actually be launching that new registration link for this upcoming school year. It might be uploaded by the time that this episode is uploaded. Hopefully, it will be. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And Jeremy, any last final goodbye you want to say?
Well, just I really want to appreciate Emily and Irene for having me here, and um, just I look forward to expand our CHSD expand across the state. And if you are just any of the listeners who just want to get involved again, just like Emily and Irene reminded us, reach out to us. We will be there for you, and I'm looking forward to whatever people who want to work with us. Thank you.
Period. I agree. Well, thank you, CHSD. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes. Thank you
Goodbye.
guys. See you in our next episode.